All right. Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while. It's been a hot minute, probably, since I've done a YouTube video. Um, let's start off with I haven't been in the mood to do any philosophizing or any philosophy. I mean, I've been reading some philosophy books, obviously. Like I've been really into like Schopenhauer um, these past couple weeks or past month. Um, I've also been reading Being in Time Again. So that's actually been it's actually been really fun reading Being in Time Again. Because I think I've attempted reading Being in Time like 4 times now. We'll see how far I get into it. Um, but it's great because the now fifth attempted time is kind of just like, oh, I actually understand things now. I'm actually understanding things. I mean, fifth time made me go, I don't think I was even reading the past 4 times. um, but so I have some, interesting things to share. So I've also been reading a lot of non-philosophy, um, mainly because I really like and I really enjoy pessimistic philosophy, or like the philosophy of pessimism. I've been really enjoying it. Um, it really is like my favorite kind of philosophy to read, mainly because it's one of those things where, you know, like I guess you can say like I get tired of hearing how everybody has like a sort of answer to the world, an answer about what we should do, an answer about um, how we can approach said problems. So yeah, I'm generally tired of any optimism that is on the internet. Um, lately I've been finding it, annoying or frustrating or whatever. So, which is usually why I've been staying away from any actual conversation with a lot of people. um, because I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested in what really anybody else has to say. Um, but so yeah, but again, some interesting stuff I've been doing is I've been reading some fantasy. Um, so for example, here it's a freaking tome of a book, but Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. Um, my best friend actually recommended this book to me. He's been trying to get me to read some of his um, some of his favorite novels for a while. Um, and yeah, I'm about halfway in, and I love it. I do. I love it. It's I give like a little rough synopsis. Obviously, I'm not done yet, but I can say already that it's one of my favorites. Um, rough synopsis is the main character is trying to find his brother. There's this thing called the Serpent Tower or Serpent Spire, basically a tower. Um, and it's a tower that you have to climb levels. And as you go higher in the levels, you gain more power and magic from the goddess that controls the tower, or has created the tower. So the goddess is kind of like the god in this fantasy novel, and everybody kind of functioned around the god. So the whole history of the novel is around this goddess, and again, like the whole environment of the novel is everybody's either you know everything is in relation to the tower. Like the technology that society has is technology that was given by people that have climbed higher in the tower because they could access resources or things in the tower that normal people wouldn't have access to. Um, but anyways, it's a really good story. I would say there's a lot going on. There's also a lot of characters that I like in there. So it's the main character is Corin, but there's also other characters that have different abilities and stuff. Um, and then this is also a book that has a very interesting, like, sort of magic system, mana system, you could say, where, for example, like there's so much mana in each body part anatomically. Um, for example, like somebody has mind mana, heart mana, and so on, and you can borrow and manipulate these manas, but the problem is that if you overuse them or exceed their mana capacities, and everybody has different mana capacities, then, for example, your brain mana or your heart mana, you can kill yourself. Literally, you can kill yourself. Um, so yeah, but anyways, there's a lot to say about that book, but it's really good. The other thing I've been doing is I've been becoming more interested in just writing, like focusing on writing novels for myself, which is odd, really. But I've been enjoying that, and the book I've been reading um, has been Novelist as a Vocation by Murakami. And Novelist as a Vocation by Murakami is basically writing advice from Murakami. I'm going to try to see if I can find my highlights real quick. To see if I can point it out. But yeah, I mean, just this. I mean, I haven't finished the book. I think still like a third way in, but I already love the way Murakami is approaching uh, his writing advice. Because I think for Murakami, like Murakami looks at writing as a kind of freedom, basically. It's a moment for you to be free for your writing. What's inspiring about the book is that Murakami talks about how he didn't really have any any real background in writing. It was just he was at a baseball game one day and he was just like he got the idea that he wanted to write a novel. And I can actually sympathize with this random event kind of orientation, because I had actually, before I even got into philosophy, or before I even knew about philosophy, really, I had the same kind of epiphany as well. That suddenly I just wanted to write a book. One, I felt it was challenging to write one, so I thought that was a perfect challenge to have. But yeah, I've always felt like I wanted to write a novel. Anyways, I joined the army, and I felt like I didn't have time to write, so I started writing poetry instead. And then I think a little bit more towards like the almost end of my army career that's when I really started getting into philosophy and writing more philosophical, reflective pieces. So obviously, I mean, writing has definitely been very much a part of my life, for sure. It's been a very important part. But something that I've noticed about a lot of these, if you, for example, I mean, I've been exploring a lot of like writing advice from like popular authors, right? Like Murakami. There's what's his name? John Steinbeck, for example. if you pay attention to like a lot of these like authors writing advice, you start to understand that it's really about showing up for your writing, you know. Now I hesitate to call it discipline, but I like the way Murakami seems to frame the way he writes. And for Murakami, it's like if you're not enjoying what you're writing about, then you need to change it. You know, you need to change it. You need to subtract. And he talks about subtraction a lot too. Um, and he talks about how when he wrote his first novel, you know, he just wrote kind of spontaneously. He didn't have a plan, and I think there's a lot of formal writing advice there that does have plans, but and particularly I do like Murakami because he is a kind of like easy read, you know. You don't feel you don't feel the pressures of anything. Murakami is just writing, you know. He's just writing spontaneously, and then he says once he finishes his draft, then he goes over it, right? More meticulously. Um, I can definitely say that I think the impediment in my own writing is, at least every time I've attempted to, you know, write like a novel, is that the impediment has always been obsessed with the planning about the novel. Um, Now it's good to have a direction for the novel, but then it's also okay for the direction to change a bit. Um, but yeah, reading Murakami's book "Novelist as a Vocation" has been really great for me. It's actually got me started writing and working on a novel piece. Um, I'm hoping. I mean, the kind of intentions that I have with this thing is my intentions are to not think about making it become a novel, but of course, talking on the internet about it, it's hard to not say the signifier of the word, right? Um, but yes, I'm working on this novel, um, and it's fun. It is fun. It's still hard work, but it's fun. Um, I've also been trying to transfigure what we mean by discipline, because I think Murakami, when he's saying that basically you have to show up in a way for your writing, um, it's a showing up in a way that doesn't require much effort. You know, Murakami admits that he's never had writer's block. You know, and it's true. Like he's never had writer's block. He's been writing for like 30 something years. Um, and he started writing when he was like 29. So that at least goes to show you that he has um, definitely some merit in what he's saying about, you know, and I've definitely had. I mean, I would never say I guess I had writer's block, but I remember I had a moment where I was thinking I had one. Um, but I realized that a lot of writer's block is the inability to let go. I would say it's the inability to let go. It's the overuse of wanting to control a specific outcome and want a specific way, versus freely writing. Actually, um, of course, freely writing. When you think about that kind of message from Murakami, like spontaneous writing and everything, um, that gets hard. That gets difficult to think about in a real way. Um, what does it mean to actually what does it actually mean to spontaneously write? Um, because there is something that's happening in terms of the fact that we are aware of it as it's happening, and that makes it less spontaneous in a way. Um, of course, spontaneity basically just means that you're not actively trying to plan and actively trying to um, take it in a certain direction, but at the same time, because of your self-conscious awareness, you are always tempted to fall into a sort of stringent, strict, narrow way about how the novel and the writing should be. And that's something that I've always encountered within myself, because you're always fighting a sort of temptation. And in that sense, in that sense, writing is a sort of suffering kind of thing. But reading Murakami's book on this is that for Murakami, it shouldn't be like an act of suffering. It should be an act of enjoyment. And so that really reframes that for me. And of course, there is that moment where you could say suffering is also an element of enjoyment if we want to go to like the more psychoanalytic point. But I think Murakami makes sense to me, when he's giving these sort of writing advice. As much as like people have critiqued Murakami for his writing and so on, um, I think I think you have to admit that he gets it done. He does write. However, whatever way people think it's good or bad for novels, that's an entire debate itself. The thing is that what's undeniable is that Murakami is a force as a writer. Yeah. And that just, and the amount of criticism he gets kind of just comes with that terrain, it really does. It just comes with that kind of terrain. So, but anyways, yeah, that's really it. That's all I really wanted to um, share with you guys. So these are things I've been exploring lately. But all right, take care, guys.